You're sitting at dinner with your childhood friends and someone mentions they're stressed about making rent this month. Another friend is excited because they finally paid off a $3,000 credit card. And you're sitting there with $847,000 in your investment accounts, nodding along, pretending you're in the same boat. You can't tell them the truth. You literally can't say the words out loud, because the moment you do, everything changes. The friendship, the dynamic, the way they look at you, all of it gone. And here's what nobody tells you about building wealth. There's a specific number where this happens to everyone, and you probably just crossed it without even realizing. My name is Elon Musk, and I spend way too much time thinking about the social cost of financial success. If you're someone who's been doing everything right with your money, saving aggressively, investing consistently, living below your means, but you're starting to feel weirdly isolated from the people you grew up with, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because what we're going to talk about today is the loneliest milestone in personal finance, and it's not the one you think. Here's the thing, everyone talks about the first $100,000 like it's this magic number. Charlie said it, I've said it, every financial guru repeats it. The first $100,000 is the hardest, and that's mathematically true. But here's what most people don't realize. The first $100,000 is also the last time your wealth feels normal to talk about. Because somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million in net worth, something shifts. And it's not just in your bank account, it's in every conversation you have, every relationship you maintain, every social interaction you navigate. Let me give you the actual statistics here because they're shocking. According to the Federal Reserve's 2022 survey of consumer finances, the median net worth for Americans aged 35-40 is $135,600. For ages 45-54, it's $247,200. Now, if you've been maxing out your 401k, living on 50-60% of your income, and investing the difference for just 10-15 years, you're sitting at somewhere between $600,000 and $1.2 million. You're not in the top 1%, you're probably in the top 10-15% for your age group. But here's where it gets really interesting. You're now 4-8 times wealthier than the median person you're likely to interact with. That's not rich in the private jet sense. That's not even rich in the I quit my job sense. But it's wealthy enough that your financial reality is completely incomprehensible to most of your friends, your siblings, even your parents. Look, let me show you exactly how this plays out mathematically, because once you see these numbers, you can't unsee them. Let's say you're 38 years old. You started saving seriously at 28. You put away $15,000 a year into index funds, nothing crazy, just consistent. At a 10% average annual return, which is basically the stock market's historical average, you now have approximately $265,000 saved. Add in your home equity if you bought a house, let's say $180,000, and boom, you're at $445,000 in net worth. Now your college roommate, same age, same starting point, but they saved $3,000 a year instead. Maybe they had student loans, maybe they liked traveling more, maybe they just didn't prioritize it. Their net worth, about $53,000 in investments, and they're renting, so zero home equity. Total net worth, $53,000. You have 8.4 times more wealth than they do. That's not a small difference. That's not even a big difference. That's a reality-altering difference. Here's what that means in practical terms. When they suggest a weekend trip and say it'll only be like $800 per person, they're talking about potentially going into debt or sacrificing their entire monthly savings. When you hear $800, your brain registers it as 0.18% of your net worth. It's not even a rounding error. You literally spend more than that on subscriptions you forgot to cancel. Now you might be thinking, okay, but why does this create isolation? Can't you just not mention money? And that's exactly what you try to do. That's what everyone does at this stage. You pay the silence tax. The silence tax is every conversation you carefully navigate, every financial stress your friends share that you can't relate to, every time someone asks for advice and you have to pretend you're in the same situation they are, every vacation you turn down because you can't suggest the budget option without seeming cheap, and you can't suggest the nice option without revealing you think differently about money than they do. A study from university found that people consistently underestimate the income and wealth of their close friends by an average of 15-30%. But here's the kicker. They also judge people more harshly for financial success than for almost any other achievement. Academic success, celebrated, career promotion, congratulations all around, made smart financial decisions for 15 years straight. You're suddenly lucky or privileged or must be nice. Let me tell you about my friend Sarah. Real person, changed name. Sarah is a nurse. She makes $78,000 a year. She's 41 years old and has a net worth of approximately $890,000. How? She started investing at 23. She house-hacked a duplex in her 20s. She maxed out her retirement accounts every single year, and she never upgraded her lifestyle as her income grew. Sarah can't tell her this. She drives a 2014 Civic. She brings lunch from home. She lives in a modest house. But here's what happened. One of her friends saw a retirement account statement on her kitchen counter when they were over for dinner. Just saw the number, didn't even see the full picture. That friend stopped talking to her, just stopped inviting her to things, started making comments about must be nice to have money. The friendship just died. And here's the thing that makes me genuinely frustrated. Sarah did everything right. She made deliberate choices. She sacrificed immediate gratification for long-term security. She worked extra shifts. She learned about index funds and compound interest and tax-advantaged accounts. And her reward? She lost a 15-year friendship because she was too successful at following the advice every financial expert gives. This is where it gets really interesting, because there's actual psychology research on this phenomenon. There's a concept in behavioral economics called reference group theory. Basically, we judge our financial success not by absolute measures, but by comparing ourselves to our peer group. When you're dramatically more successful than your reference group, one of two things happens. Either you find a new reference group, or you hide your success to maintain your current relationships. Most people at this net worth level choose option 2. They hide, they downplay, they deflect. Oh, we're doing okay. We've been lucky. We just try to save a little here and there. But here's what most people don't realize. This hiding comes with a massive psychological cost. There's research from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology that shows concealing significant personal information, even positive information, increases stress, reduces relationship satisfaction, and creates what they call authenticity strain. You know what authenticity strain feels like? It's when your brother complains about his $8,000 credit card debt and asks what he should do. And you know exactly what he should do because you've read 47 books on personal finance and you've been managing a multi-$100,000 portfolio for years. But you can't actually give him the full advice because then he'll ask how you know all this, and then you'll have to either lie or reveal that you're in a completely different financial universe than he is. So instead, you say something vague like, yeah, debt is tough, maybe try to pay a bit extra each month. Even though you know he should be doing a balance transfer, attacking it with the avalanche method, and cutting his expenses by 30% immediately. Look, here's the brutal truth about this milestone. It gets worse as time goes on. If you're consistently saving 20-30% of your income and investing it, and your friends are consistently saving 0.5%, the gap doesn't stay static. It compounds. Just like your investments compound, your financial divergence from your peer group compounds. Let's do the math on this, because it's genuinely shocking when you see it laid out. Person A, you, $500,000 net worth today, saving $25,000 a year. Person B, your friend, $75,000 net worth today, saving $3,000 a year. In 10 years at 8% returns. Person A, $1.65 million. Person B, $205,000. The gap went from $425,000 to $1.44 million, and that's with relatively modest return assumptions. In 20 years. Person A, $3.86 million. Person B, $448,000. The gap is now $3.41 million. You went from being 6.6 times wealthier to being 8.6 times wealthier. And this is assuming your income stayed exactly the same, which it probably didn't. Here's what this means for your relationships. The longer you maintain friendships with people on dramatically different financial trajectories, the harder it becomes to find common ground. The $800 weekend trip becomes a $3,000 vacation, becomes a $10,000 international trip. And at each stage, the calculation changes for both of you. Now you might be thinking, okay, this is depressing, but what am I supposed to do? Stop saving money, purposely sabotage my financial future to maintain friendships? No, absolutely not. But here's what you need to understand. You're going to make a decision at this milestone, whether you realize it or not. Decision 1, you stay in your current social circle and hide your wealth. You pay the silence tax. You deal with the authenticity strain. You slowly become more and more isolated even while maintaining the relationships because you can never be fully honest about a huge part of your life. Decision 2, you gradually drift toward people in similar financial situations. You make new friends through your investment club, your real estate meetups, your early retirement forums. Your old friends wonder why you're pulling away. You wonder why you feel guilty for wanting to talk to people who understand your financial reality. Decision 3, you try to bring your current friends along on the journey. You share what you're learning. You try to help them build wealth too. And here's the hard truth, this almost never works. Because if they wanted to prioritize wealth building the way you did, they would have already done it. And attempting to fix people's finances when they haven't asked for help is the fastest way to end a friendship I've ever seen. Most people stumble into some version of decision 1 or decision 2 without even consciously choosing. And that's why this milestone creates isolation, because nobody warns you it's coming, nobody teaches you how to navigate it, and by the time you realize what's happening, you're already feeling disconnected from people you've known for decades. Here's what I genuinely believe, and this is probably going to be controversial. You need to make peace with the fact that financial success changes relationships, and that's not your fault. There's this weird cultural narrative that if you're financially successful, you should hide it, be humble about it, never let it affect your relationships. But that's asking you to hide a fundamental part of your life choices and your future trajectory. Instead, here's my actually actionable advice. First, find at least 2-3 people in your life who you can be financially honest with. This might be a sibling, a cousin, a friend from your high school who also took money seriously. But you need someone you can talk to about maxing out your IRA without getting side-eye. Second, stop feeling guilty for your financial success. You didn't steal this money, you didn't win the lottery. You made daily decisions for years that other people chose not to make. They chose the nicer apartment, they chose the new car, they chose the expensive hobbies. You chose the 401k contribution. These were all valid choices, but they were different choices. Third, get comfortable with selective honesty. You don't need to announce your net worth at dinner parties. But when someone asks for financial advice, you can say, I've spent a lot of time studying this stuff. Here's what the research says, without pretending you're in the same financial situation they are. Fourth, understand that some friendships were circumstantial, and that's okay. You were friends with people because you were in the same life stage, the same financial situation, the same daily struggles. As those things diverge, some friendships will naturally fade. That's not failure, that's evolution. Fifth, find your new reference group, and I don't mean this in a trade-up way. I mean find people who are asking the same questions you're asking. Should I do a conversion? What's your asset allocation strategy? How are you thinking about early retirement? These are different questions than how do I pay off this credit card? And you need people in your life who speak your financial language. Look, here's the thing about the $500,000 to $1 million milestone. It's simultaneously the most exciting and the loneliest phase of wealth building. It's exciting because you've officially made it past the hard part. Your money is working for you now. Compound interest is doing the heavy lifting. You can actually see the path to financial independence, maybe even early retirement. But it's lonely because you're in this weird middle ground. You're not wealthy enough to be insulated from your old life. You still have a job. You still live in a normal neighborhood. You still do normal people things. But you're wealthy enough that your financial reality is fundamentally different from most people around you. The isolation happens because nobody prepares you for this. Every personal finance book ends at congratulations, you're a millionaire. Nobody writes the chapter about congratulations. Now half your friends resent you and the other half think you're lying about still having a mortgage. But here's what I want you to understand. This milestone is also an opportunity. It's an opportunity to be intentional about your relationships. It's an opportunity to find people who are building what you're building. It's an opportunity to stop performing financial stress you don't actually feel. There's a concept I think about a lot called financial authenticity. It's the idea that you should be able to live in alignment with your actual financial reality, not the reality you're performing for social acceptability. If you can afford the $800 trip without stress, you shouldn't have to pretend it's a financial sacrifice. If you're maxing out your 401k and your IRA and your HSA, you shouldn't have to pretend you're barely getting by. If you've built $700,000 in net worth, you shouldn't have to live like you're one paycheck away from disaster just to make other people comfortable. Let me give you one more statistic that really drives this home, because I think it'll make you feel less alone in this. According to Fidelity's 2023 analysis of their 401k accounts, there are approximately 422,000 401k millionaires in their system alone. That's just one provider. Vanguard reported similar numbers. That means there are easily over 1 million Americans who have $1 million just in their 401k, not counting their other assets. Most of these people are not CEOs, they're not celebrities, they're not trust fund kids, they're teachers who maxed out their 403b for 30 years. They're engineers who lived on half their income and invested the rest. They're nurses like Sarah who made smart decisions early and stuck with them. But if you ask any of these million-plus people if they talk openly about their net worth with their friends, I'd bet 90% of them say no, because they've all experienced the exact isolation we're talking about. You're not alone in this, you're just in a club that nobody admits they're in. Here's my challenge to you: if you're at this milestone or approaching it, stop apologizing for your success. Stop hiding your financial knowledge. Stop pretending you're stressed about expenses that don't actually stress you. Find one person this week you can be financially honest with. Maybe it's a spouse you've been downplaying things to. Maybe it's a sibling. Maybe it's a who you suspect is on a similar path. And if you don't have that person yet, that's exactly why communities like this exist. That's why there are financial independence forums, investor meetups, money podcasts, because we need spaces where we can talk about these things without judgment. Building wealth is a lonely journey sometimes, but it doesn't have to be an isolated one. The net worth milestone that creates isolation isn't actually a number. It's the moment you realize your financial reality is fundamentally different from the people around you. For most people, that happens somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million, but the isolation isn't inevitable. It's a choice point, and now that you know it's coming, you can be intentional about how you navigate it. All right, that's it for today. If this resonated with you, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment letting me know what net worth milestone you're working toward, or if you've experienced this isolation yourself. And if you found this valuable, share it with someone who might need to hear it. Because here's the final truth. The only thing worse than being financially successful and isolated is being financially successful, isolated, and thinking you're the only one going through it. See you in the next one.